Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Welcome back to Listen Up, Phil and Rye. Back on this Monday night before UConn plays yet another road game, back-to-back road games for the Huskies. This time they're headed to New Jersey to take on the Seton Hall Pirates. I'm going to start with a huge surprise of this episode. Ashlyn Shade wins Big East Freshman of the Week for the fourth time of the season. Incredible week for Ashlyn. And yet a huge surprise, yet another UConn Husky freshman wins the weekly Big East award for the freshmen. So, UConn Huskies freshman class really just dominating ever since the season has left off. But pretty incredible how the whole team is playing right now, especially Ice, KK, and Ashlyn. And even Caden Samuels has been playing pretty good lately as well. Also, UConn moved up 4 spots in the AP poll to number 9, finally returning to the top 10. Pretty crazy week in the women's game. UCLA lost their first game of the season to a very good USC team. LSU lost to unranked Auburn. Baylor lost against unranked Kansas and Iowa State. Florida State beat Virginia Tech. List just keeps going on and on for this week. It's good to see the competition in the women's game heat up, and there have been some pretty competitive games this year so far. But let's shift the focus to UConn's next opponent, the Seton Hall Pirates. They're kind of in the middle of the Big East standings with an even record of 3-3, 11-6 overall. Seton Hall, they've had some pretty close games this season, pretty close losses this season, including to Villanova by 5, Providence by 5. They took ranked Princeton to double overtime, but still lost by 4. And they only suffered a 10-point loss to USC earlier in the year. So the question is, will they be the first Big East team to finally give UConn a game? Kind of keep it close. It's a possibility. Senior forward Azana Baines and sophomore guard Micah Gray lead the charge for the Pirates, both averaging over double-digit points this season. Senior guard Amari Wright leads the team in assists and steals per game. Seton Hall, fairly good rebounding team as well. I'm really interested to see, like I said, if they can keep this game close, especially past the first quarter, to try to limit UConn from, really pulling away from them later in the game. We really haven't seen UConn play a close game since the UNC game. So, of course, this is an away game for UConn. Pretty late when at 8:30, anything's possible, but very hard to pick a close game against UConn right now.
Well, if I tell you this, I think your prediction will strengthen even more when we give our predictions at the end. We're not going to forget, right? Predictions at the end. Ryan, the last time you have to go all the way back to listen to this date. I did a little bit of history for you, and this is unlike me, to put in a little bit of work. But I did it this time just for you and everybody else. It looks like, and I'm sure a lot of diehard fans, UConn fans, are aware of this. The last time, according to this here, that Seton Hall, I'm on the UConn women's basketball website. The last time Seton Hall beat Connecticut was January 5th, 1994. I wasn't even
Wow.
around it. You weren't even around yet.
No.
No. So if you go all the way back and look at the history, so that's the last time that Seton Hall defeated Connecticut. So, history is obviously on Connecticut's side. The most recent matchup, if you remember, was a 103-58 UConn win, Ryan, and that was January of 2023, 17th. So just 2 days shy of a year ago, because this is the 15th, and we're coming on a Monday. So this game takes place this Wednesday. But yeah, we have a good mix of forwards and guards on this roster, and they are loaded with experience. You talk about a lot of seniors on this roster, including senior Azana Baines. You want to talk about Asia Davis. You go down Shalyn Hagens. You go down and look at Shannon Mulroy, and shouting out to two locals, Ryan, very close to us from Manassas, Virginia, Shalyn Hagens. And the other one I saw was from Farrell, Pennsylvania, McKenna White. Ryan, they did have a great. I mean, their record is not too bad, right? I mean, considering that if you're in the conference your conference if you're sharing a conference with UConn. So yeah, I mean they're not ranked, but again, their record is 11-6 coming into this matchup. And Ryan, a lot of Connecticut natives too on this roster. So it should be fun. You told me it should be fun. So with that said, I'm going to get down in the comments so we can get right on into predictions. And then I will see you late on Wednesday night. This is from New York Minute. And there are some very, very good comments, especially for this game and then the games going forward. So listen to this, Ryan. One of these caught my eye. So this person goes, okay, so we'll go with Philip. First of all, he goes, this 4 guard lineup is wild. The way they spread out assists across 4 players is just insane.
Yeah, it really is, and now almost I think Ashland is averaging over double-digit points, and KK I believe is on 9.8. So UConn now has 4 starters averaging over double-digit points, and like they just said, the assist numbers have really been going up, which is really good to see during this winning streak as well. We haven't really mentioned that a lot, but it's a very good point about the assist numbers really going up. It's with the with the 4 guard lineup trying to distribute everybody the ball, getting Paige some shots, and of course Ashland shooting the 3, making sure KK and Aaliyah get their fair share. Not easy, but UConn's been doing an incredible job with this lineup during the win streak. And like we keep saying, just kind of incredible the way that they started the season to how they're playing now. So hopefully they can keep it up.
Question Ryan and I. That's what I ask everyone, to question us, not just comment, but also questions in the comments. We love it. Adam Edmonds, listen to this, Ryan. It was encouraging to see Ice and Aaliyah on the floor together more this game. Do you guys think Ice will improve enough to be a legitimate weapon come March? Your go, Ryan. You go first on that.
I think she will. I honestly
Yeah.
think she will. I wouldn't have said that at the beginning of the season, but how she's played it lately, it's really it's not mind blowing, but it's really good to see how her confidence has really grown since the
Yeah.
beginning of the season with her not playing at all. And then all of a sudden we get a couple of these injuries. She's expected to play more minutes than probably what she would have originally to start the year. So it's so great to see how good she's playing as well with the increased minutes. And yeah, I think come time later in the season, crunch time, talking about March, I think she'll be ready for the moment when she has to play. I'd imagine a lot of minutes in a couple of these, or probably all of the games that the UConn has to play in March. And I think it's interesting next year as well because she might possibly take Aaliyah's place in the starting lineup for that 5 position, the center position down low. So that's going to be interesting to see as well.
Lindsay Matthews, thanks so much for your reporting. Fabulous. What role will our newest players have if next year AZ and Aubrey stay at UConn and are available? Will Ashland have to sit? Will KK have to sit? Will Q have to sit? What do you think? Well, first of all, Ryan, yeah, I think that Ice will improve, and I can't wait to see her against Notre Dame and South Carolina. I think it's a little too early to tell, but I want to see them or her put a lot of minutes and Gino give her a lot of minutes in them 2 games specifically to see how she responds. But again, going down to Lindsay Matthews, Ryan, I never thought about that because I'm not. We're not going to get into it now, but how many players are eligible to stay? How many have to declare for the WNBA draft? How many are done at UConn? But now she brings up a very good point, Ryan. How stacked all of a sudden will this team be if everyone stays?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting in the off season to try to figure out all the moving pieces, who's staying, who's going. Couple of recruits coming in as well. So another interesting starting lineup video for us to make during the off season before next season starts. But it's a long ways away. But I'm sure as soon as the season ends, there's going to be a lot of discussion about it. And honestly, I'm not sure what Gino and the coaching staff's going to do in terms of the lineup and trying to move everybody around, especially the way all the freshmen are playing, but especially Ashlyn and KK, how good they've been doing in the starting lineup. So who's starting, who's going on the bench. It should be interesting to see how the minutes and everything plays out for next season.
New face and a new name. We appreciate Jason Turek coming through. Ryan, he goes, I also worried that these teams they're playing are just not good. How are they going to handle 6'7" Cardozo when we meet South Carolina? I'm very impressed with the turnaround, and the relationship of Nika and Paige reminds me of Sue and Diana. Yes, Ryan, they're really finding the chemistry, Nika and Paige.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the games against Notre Dame and South Carolina are definitely going to be a big tell of how UConn is really going to look as we head into March and the end of February. I think how they do during both of those games is really going to alter their confidence level, I think. And yeah, I mean, hopefully, even if they lose maybe one or two both of those games, hopefully at least they keep it close. But we're really hoping they can at least beat Notre Dame and or South Carolina. But yeah, it should be fun games to watch. But hopefully UConn can compete all the way through those games. And honestly, I think they can. Even though the Big East doesn't really have a ton of top tier opponents like we thought it would this year. I think UConn's going to be ready for the big games.
Yeah, to go along with that, the disruptive one said the Big East race is over. I'm sure you agree, Ryan, and I do agree. No secret. Jason D'Amico, we usually start off with our good buddy Jason, but we'll finish, save the best for last, right? Now, all these comments are the best. But he goes, oh boy. And we promise we have to get Jason on before the season's over. Jason, if you're interested, please reach out. We still want you on here. Oh boy. He goes, y'all brought up a good the CC versus Paige subject. We could have a weeks long conversation about the difference between Paige and Caitlin. In my opinion, they are two completely different types of players. Caitlin is shoot first, worry about the consequences later, while Paige is a facilitator first, shoot when open type. And I'll go down, skip down. The major difference between these two is simple. If Paige scores 20 to 25 points in a game, UConn wins. If CC is held to 25 in a game, Iowa more than likely loses. It's not about who is better. It is about in-game team philosophy. UConn definitely has the upper hand in that category. Peace. He just preached it, Ryan, because what did I tell you the other day on the phone? I said, Ryan, yeah, I mean, in all sports, but specifically we talk about women's basketball. It's not about Ryan, who is better. It's about who shows up in crunch time, whether that's the national championship game or the first round, whether your backs are against the wall or, you're down by a point or two. How do you respond? Who gets the ball put in their hands?
Well, and like I kind of said when we originally brought it up, both teams are very different and both players have a very different mindset. Obviously, I think Caitlin Clark's going to shoot more shots per game because she kind of needs to for her Iowa team. And Paige, like I said, she doesn't really need to shoot that many shots per game for UConn to win, in my opinion. But yeah, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day who's
Yeah.
better or better than one or the other. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is an interesting debate. But it is pretty amazing what Caitlin Clark and Iowa are doing. Of course, they're ranked second now, one loss, I believe, on the season, ranked second. So definitely having a really good season. Going to be interesting to see what Caitlin Clark does in the WNBA. But who knows? Maybe they'll face off in March. Maybe we can get an Iowa and UConn showdown in March.
And make no mistake, individual sports awards are great. We tip our hat to all the athletes that win the biggest individual awards in sports, right, Ryan? But we know what it's about. All right. I want to shout out real quick, Ryan, to Lauren Park Lane. I know you remember that name. She was a former Seton Hall Pirate, but now she has moved on with the Mississippi State Bulldogs. She's now with Mississippi State, and we wish her all the best. We hope that she's doing well. I'm kind of glad that she's out of the Big East Conference. I know that she kind of gave you headaches every once in a while, and you raised your eyebrows every once in a while at me when I brought that name up. So just a name. I know Seton Hall lost a great player when she moved on.
Yeah, and luckily for Seton Hall, they got a couple players last year. I think a couple players this year through the transfer portal. So even though they lost a couple good players, they definitely got a couple good ones. And like I said, two players averaging over double-digit points. It's going to be interesting to see if they can finally keep it close.
Predictions. Seton Hall or UConn?
Yeah, I think Seton Hall, like I said, I think they have a chance to keep it close, but I don't think they will. And again, just not enough offense, in my opinion, to keep pace with UConn. So I'm picking another blowout, 89-51 UConn.
All right, Ryan. I'll go UConn all the way Wednesday night. We'll go 95. How about that again? Let's go high. Let's go above 90. Why not? Just like a rocket shooting up in the air. Let's go 95 to 61, 95-61. Again, possibly close first and second quarters. But again, you're starting to see UConn, their chemistry come together. And that's what I like, especially after halftime, because again, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Ryan, it's how we finish late on Wednesday night, right? It's Phil and Rye on Listen Up.